Okay, so this is a Redcat Blackout, and just want to make this video because it's kind of a pain if you need to replace a motor in one of these cars. You pretty much have to almost completely disassemble the whole rear half of the car to get to it. Even if you need to just like adjust the lash for your pinion gear, it doesn't have to come down this far, but it's still kind of a pain the way they have it designed. I don't know if you can see or not. Looking at the spur gear right there, you can see the two motor mount bolts, one on the bottom right, one on the top left. You can adjust the spur gear if you need to adjust the lash between the two here, with the differential and the cover and everything still on it, but you still need to disconnect the suspension on this side so that you can get in towards it right there and pull this cover off so you can see it. The problem is once you're down there, you can see I drilled that little hole in the tub of the car right there above that lower arm. You can see the little hole in there, right up in there. I did that because on the lower bolt there, there's really no way here. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. There's really no way you can reach it with a screwdriver, with a straight screwdriver, without possibly stripping the head out. So with this one, I drilled a hole in the tub right there. That way I can lift up the suspension here up out of the way. And then once it's up, I can just slip in there with a screwdriver and get straight to that bolt head. So that made that a lot easier. But then the top one is hidden behind the other gear right there. See, when you look straight at it, you see about half of it. So that one's also hard to crack loose. But if you're pretty easy with it, I've had it in and out a couple times so far. I haven't stripped that yet. But it's just kind of weird the way that's designed. The problem is if you need to replace the motor, if you need to pull it out. First of all, you don't really have room. Let's say you get both bolts all the way out. Even once they're loose, when the motor slides all the way over, you still can't really slip that bolt out without hitting this. And then on top of that, there's no space for the motor to slide back and come out. So to pull the motor out, you have to break it all the way down as far as I have here. You even got to pull out the differential assembly here, the big ring gear, because you got this cover. Once all the suspension's off on the rear, you got this cover on here, and underneath that cover is this. This like helps align the gears right there. That lays over this way, and then the plastic cover on top of it. So once you get all these off, pull out the little half shaft axles. They're right here. Just lay them to the side. If you don't pull them out, they'll end up falling out anyway. So once you get all that off, you can pull this off and this. Then, in order to get the motor out, here, let me put this back on here so kind of get an idea of it. Turn it around. In order to get the motor out, you have to pull this whole brace out here that aligns everything. I don't know what you'd call it. But there's 3 bolts on the bottom side of the tub that hold that secure. If you lift it up, and right there, those 3 that go across from each other, they're kind of offset. You got to loosen those 3, and when you do that, this will come loose. Problem with that though is you can't just lift it out because this goes straight in between the cover here for the differential. So you got to pull the cover off of that. Then you have to pull the actual diff out from in here, which isn't really that bad. You just got to watch you don't put it back in backwards, then your wheels will spin the wrong direction. I've already done that once. So with that out, now this will lift out, and there's 2 little bearings on there once you unbolt the 3 bolts on the bottom of this. So I'm going to do that next, and then that's pretty self-explanatory. Once you loosen those, this just lifts out, and this shaft slips out the same way these little half shafts do from the actual spindle to the differential. So yeah, I'll lift that up, that shaft will slide out, and that'll lift up the entire assembly there. So then I can loosen my bolts there, pull off the gear, slide the motor out, and replace it. I've already replaced this motor. This one's a brushless kit from Google RC, but I realized when I put it back together that the motor needs to be tilted or flipped 180 degrees basically, because there's a little brace that they have that goes from the front to the rear of the car, and the way I have it mounted now, the wires for the motor interfere with it. I can't bolt it on. So I got my helper here. Thank you. So, but yeah, if you're gonna fool with one of these blackouts and need to replace a motor or something, just plan on more work than you'd expect. I'm used to working on scale trucks where you just remove the drive shafts and you have like 4 mount bolts and the whole motor and trans comes out together. This thing's a lot of work, but it's not bad if you take your time. Just Don't mix up bolts and lose bolts and stuff. That's the other thing too. Maybe have some spare bolts, like one of these kits laying around, where if bolts do strip or you lose something, you've got some bolts to replace them with, because it'll happen. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions about it, if you're taking one apart yourself or trying to replace a motor or something. Thanks for watching.